Oh dear God. Why?
I don't know, I'm feeling kind of blue. I want to make biscuits, but I just don't know how. It's like I almost wish that there was some southern gentleman that could come show me how to make biscuits and just snap me out of this.
Do you have some flour?
Yeah.
How about like a lard, butter, stuff like that?
Sure.
Baking soda, baking powder?
Yeah.
We can make biscuits, man. Buttermilk.
Yeah.
Let's make biscuits. You don't have to be so blue.
It's not easy being blue.
Oh man. Yeah, let's
Not just me, but it's me and you.
No, don't touch me.
Oh, sorry. Okay, all right. Well, we'll make some biscuits then.
Let's make biscuits.
Southern biscuits.
Southern biscuits.
Southern biscuits.
We're making those.
I see time and time again people lamenting, oh, I can't make biscuits to save my life. I do everything my grandmother taught me, and they come out like a hockey puck.
Dense,
hard,
they don't
no
break,
rise.
they don't fluffy, they don't break into,
They're just pucks. I think they're overthinking it. I think they're overdoing it. I think they're not taking the simplistic approach to it. Or they could be putting things in the wrong order.
Sure. I mean, that's important. So let's start making like southern biscuits. Well, first thing we should do is turn on our oven, which we did, right? So, but 450 degrees.
Yes.
Right? And then from there, anytime you're anything you're baking, take your dry ingredients, put them in a bowl, mix them all together first, then start working with wet. If you don't do that and you're using things like baking powder, baking soda, what's going to happen?
Lumps.
Yes.
And then you're not going to get what you're looking for.
And then that stuff's not evenly distributed, and it's not going to rise right. It's not going to give you that wonderful mouthfeel you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Right? So
let's start with 4 cups of, we're using bread flour.
Okay.
So a little more glutinous, which is nice because it will help to rise.
And let's see, I think we've got some baking powder. 8 teaspoons of baking powder.
Baking powder. We got a little bit of baking soda.
Half teaspoon. Yep.
Then we got some ever lovely.
Yeah, about a teaspoon and a half or so of salt. And now, like this, you now don't start adding your wet.
Mix
it. Get it all mixed together.
You've got dry goods, and you've got wet goods, and you've got semi-wet goods, or as my brother-in-law would say, moist goods. So we're going to take cold butter, because what I understand is that we don't want to take our butter and have it melt through the flour. We want it to stay
right. I've seen recipes that do both, but what it's going to change. It's going to change your final texture. When you do it with cold butter, you're basically going to be like cutting that butter into the flour, and it's going to be still these little pieces of butter that are in there that, as it cooks, are going to melt into buttery goodness.
Absolutely.
Where if it's melted, it just coats all of the flour and kind of absorbs into the flour, and you still have the flavor, but it's not. It's going to change the consistency of the final product.
Absolutely.
So like here, we're taking that fat and we're working it in until it's nicely distributed, but you should still see those little
granules,
little granules. Yes, exactly right.
I like to tell people that you work this until it has the consistency of like a dense cornmeal.
Yeah, sure. I can see that. That's a good way to put it. Look, if you don't want to use your hands to do this, and you actually have, like, say, a pastry knife or even a fork, a big fork, you can cut into the flour with that.
Remind me again, how much of butter and how much of the shortening did you put in this?
Sure, there was 4 tablespoons of each. So basically, this is a half a stick of butter, 4 tablespoons of like a shortening, like a Crisco, something like that, and we're just cutting that into our dry, so that it's all nice and evenly distributed, but not not melted and just a big mess. Like,
Absolutely.
Like, look at that. It's like, look how that falls. And you can see like the bigger pieces. Like, and that's okay if there's like a piece like that in there.
That's going to melt through
fine.
in the biscuit.
That's what you
and
want to see.
Not make it so dry.
Yeah.
Now, if I could get you to help me with the buttermilk and help pour it, and I'll slip over to this side, and let's put it in our well. We've made a well in here so that we can get our buttermilk in and start working the buttermilk together with the flour.
Right. So we're going to add the buttermilk. We're not going to just all pour it in at one time.
Right.
And I think the other thing that's important to talk about here too before we add this is we don't want to overwork the dough. We're
Absolutely.
not making pizza dough.
Yes.
We don't want to activate all of the gluten that's in the flour.
Yeah, we want this to just be brought together.
Yeah, we
That's
want
all we
to
want.
work this just enough to bring it into something that we can roll out and turn into a nice southern biscuit, right? How you like your biscuits? What do you do with your biscuits?
Oh man, my favorite way. I mean, to me the best way is a nice sausage gravy.
Oh yeah,
That's
sure.
the best. But bacon, piece of ham, some cheese and egg, you
Cool
name
egg on
it.
there.
It's all good.
Oh man, if you got some homemade preserves, something like that.
Yeah, that's
Little
just
honey.
There's really no way to go wrong with a good southern biscuit.
You can't. You ever butter a pan, so it doesn't stick?
Sure.
You use salted, guess what's going to happen? It's going to stick.
And why's that?
Because it's salt.
So it just
I'll be
cooks
honest,
to it.
I don't know all the chemistry behind it, but yeah, I do know that if you say butter your pan with a salted butter versus an unsalted butter, that salted butter is not going to do nearly the job that the unsalted will in terms of release when your item comes out of the oven.
Makes sense.
I've learned that the hard way, by the way.
And I don't know about you. I think that right there is about the consistency that we're ready to start rolling
it's
out.
wet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not overworking. You see kind of how it's kind of breaking apart a little
Yes.
bit. That's fine. And I can actually, when I touch it, I can still feel little pieces of that
Butter
fat,
in the fat.
that shortening in butter.
So we've got our biscuit ball. I'm going to turn it out on some dough.
Okay, now I'll be honest. I've never done it this way. What are we doing here?
You know,
What's this thing?
the reason why I'm doing this is just perhaps for a little ease of cleanup.
Okay.
Also, the lip is about the height that I'm looking for with my biscuit.
Okay, so it's almost a visual aid.
Absolutely. And I'm not trying to work this biscuit too much, just like we were talking about making the pizza dough. So what I'm wanting to do, to get a flaky biscuit, what I've found, work this out, get it nice and thin. I mean, really thin.
But how thin?
As thin as you can get it in this pan, and I'll show you why. Because we're wanting a flaky biscuit, we don't want a hockey puck, right? And this is what I think where most people mess up. They're going to roll it out, and then they're going to start cutting this. That's not going to give us layers.
Now, be honest. You like making this stuff because you get to wear the blue gloves, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not. This really has nothing to do with cleanliness or ease or anything. Okay, here's a trick.
All right, I'm ready.
Roll your biscuit over.
Uh-huh.
Roll your biscuit
Oh, that's
over.
we're folding it. It's almost like we're making like a croissant or something.
Absolutely. See, so there's
Yeah.
that. Let me put a little bit more flour on here.
Yes, understood.
And there's nothing wrong with continually flouring this. That's even going to help it stay apart a little bit more. So we want to do this about,
We're creating layers.
absolutely. And as we push these down, they're not going to really stick in the way that, like you're making a pizza dough. They're still separate. So we're going to do this about 3 or 4 times. I remember my mom, she tried to make biscuits like my grandmother. I think it was my grandmother didn't really have a recipe. She had a way she did it.
Yeah.
And whenever you're trying to get it out of her, she forgets that, oh yeah, by the way, you got to use flour to make a biscuit, and you always leave something out. You're like, okay, thanks for the...
She's cooking by touch.
Yes.
And through experience. I mean, it's like, how many times you fold it up.
Right.
Right? I mean, you ask her, I don't know, till it's enough.
Till it's enough. And you're like, well, that doesn't help me out, Grammy.
I mean, how many times? Oh, we do that maybe half dozen times. or
Yeah.
so?
Yeah. And so, and you can even see the layers.
Yeah. No, you can
In
totally
that.
see them. I mean, you could
Right?
actually pull it and separate it if
Yep.
you really wanted to. So we're trying to keep it roughly
About the
the
width.
height of
Yeah.
this guy, which is, I'm gonna go, that's half to 3/4 inch, something like that.
And if you've got the right amount of baking soda and baking powder, these are going to rise.
Yeah.
And that's what you're wanting, because if it rises, that means it's got the right amount of air in it. Uniformity is one thing too, because it helps you when you're baking it. If you've got it a uniform height, then they should cook evenly.
Right. You don't want, if you didn't do that, you're gonna have some that are maybe over or underbaked. And,
You know, it's something else that I think about a lot of times whenever I'm making breads or doughs or biscuits or whatever, is the calibration of an oven. I think a lot of people overlook that.
Oh,
They
sure.
forget that their oven,
Yes.
if it's not calibrated, you're going to have hot spots. Oh, the biscuit, I like this size. It's about 2 inches. A rocks glass makes it great. You can go get those really fun
Yeah,
bread cutters
you
and
go
all
buy a
that.
cutter, and it's fine. It works.
But
If you don't have one, don't stress it.
Yeah.
Because if you got a rocks glass, or if you don't have a rocks glass, find a water glass. It's got
Yeah.
the same width
bam,
and
there's
you
a
go.
biscuit.
That's biscuit. And you know what? That's very. I mean, I can already see the airiness in it, and I like that. That's good. That's good stuff right there. Now, do we want these touching on here? Or
I like to have just a little bit of room because they are going to rise. They are going to expand.
Okay.
So if they're touching, you know, I mean, you can pull them apart, but I've found that sometimes if they touch, they may not cook on that side properly.
Right.
So a little bit of extra air makes for a little bit better biscuit.
It's more work than just buying the can of
Oh,
biscuits
sure.
and popping it open, but I think it's worth it. The flavor, it doesn't even compare.
No, and then, you know, I'm always a fan of making my own food just because, one, there's a beauty in cooking. It's a beautiful art form. It's a beautiful art form that I think that unfortunately might be getting a little lost on some. Because
It's
of,
relaxing.
It is. It's relaxing, and a lot of times, you know, people are in such a hurry. You know, everything's got to be fast, and I equate it to, you know, I don't have the time to make the food that I want to make because I've got to watch this TV show that's coming on at night. And it's, well, maybe don't watch the TV show. Maybe get your family involved in the cooking. Maybe teach your kids how to make biscuits. Have them help you. You know, so your son now knows how to make biscuits, and have him make the biscuits while you make the hash browns, or while your husband makes the gravy, and maybe while your daughter makes the polenta or something or other, and get everybody involved. And then it doesn't take as long to make the dinner. Everybody's making the food. You have some family involvement, and you're
They're learning,
Mm-hmm.
and you're creating an experience together.
Yes.
You know what you're doing? You're creating a memory that those kids are going to have the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
When they're old and gray, they're going to remember making biscuits with mom and dad.
That's right.
You know? And I don't know. To me, that's kind of part of what being a parent's about.
Yeah,
You know, it's about getting those memories.
And that TV show's not that important.
No, well, you know what? And nowadays they've got these things that I don't know if you heard. They'll actually record the show for you.
Get out.
I swear, man. Like, say you're a fan or whatever, but it comes on at dinner time. You can hit a button, and it will record it, and then later you can go watch it when it's convenient for you.
Okay, now I'm a little concerned. What you're about to tell me is that you're coming from the future, and this is something that I'm going to find 30, 40 years from now?
No, you can actually do this today.
Get out.
I know, right?
All right, so we got our biscuits ready. Some of them don't look, I mean, I've folded the dough a few more times, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to have some odd-shaped biscuits.
So what?
Who cares?
It's fine.
Who cares?
Tastes good.
Yep. Next thing we're going
Especially
to
put
do...
gravy on.
Exactly, right? Next thing we're doing, in the oven.
How long?
We're going to put these in, you know, I go for about 12 minutes, but then you got to kind of watch them. Because
Yeah, you
you
gotta
want them
check
to rise.
And you check your bottoms.
Yes.
Make sure you don't burn the bottom.
That's one of the reasons I use the parchment paper. The parchment paper helps keep the heat evenly distributed through the pan. I use an aluminum pan too. It's not as conductive as, say, a metal pan or a stone. A cooking stone would get a little too hot.
What are we doing, man?
I'm going to put a little bit of butter on these tops. It's going to help them brown a little bit. They're browning nicely.
Yeah.
But
look at the rise on these things too.
Told you, man. That's where you get when you do the folds.
And I tell you what, when you pick it up, you can feel the airiness. It doesn't have that hockey puck feel.
Exactly.
It's got that.
It's a light Southern biscuit. Exactly what we were going for.
So we let them cook. This was 12 minutes in the oven, right?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna brush them with a little bit of butter, and then pop them back in again. Just
2 minutes, maybe.
a couple minutes. Just let that kind of get in there and
Give it that nice extra butteriness. Because remember, we put 4 tablespoons of butter in the flour.
right. Well,
So that's
you know,
in the
I'm
biscuit.
pretty sure somebody once said everything's better with butter.
Oh, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Oh my
Look
God,
at
they smell stupid good.
Let's
Stupid
see
good.
What we're looking for too. Let's just grab. How about this one in the center? Okay, we've
Sure.
got nice brown on the top.
Yeah, look at the bottom. Not burned, but brown. That's what you want to see right there. And like I said, you pick them up. There's
They're
a
light.
light airiness to them. You know, I don't want to play sports with them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. The Penguins are not going to be going to the Stanley Cup hitting these.
Man. Oh, I'm so hungry now. This is gonna be good. This was a good idea.
Yeah. So when we were rolling these and we were folding them, I was telling you we were going to get layers, which you can see we got the layers. But now let me prove it to you. Take this one.
You already see them. It's like crack. It's already wants to separate.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's just gorgeous. That's so gorgeous. That's gonna be so good.
Mm.
You can see the flakiness.
Absolutely.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh yeah, man. Wait, where's your beer? This is your toast right here.
Absolutely. It's
Good
stuff.
idea.